We have a massive update on Johnny Gargano and AEW. Also, in addition to that, an AEW wrestler has re-signed with the company. And I want to talk a little bit more deep dive into something that AEW is doing really good for its talent. Chris Jericho revealed some things that AEW has done for him that WWE hasn't done. And I just thought this was a really interesting story. So if you guys want more wrestling news, I give you guys my opinions on everything that's happening in wrestling. And I'd love to hear what you guys think in the comment section down below. So we're actually just going to kick things off with Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho has, he's just been everywhere between the podcasting business, the wrestling business. So he actually did a podcast thing with Freddie Prinze Jr. And basically, Chris Jericho he kind of went out of his way. He was just in general praising AEW for some things that they do. And this one thing right here was just like really beautiful. So Chris Jericho says, AEW's treatment is a million times better than WWE's ever was because the Khan family are owners of sports team. So they come at it from a sports standpoint. I never had hotels and cars provided ever. Never ever in the 30 years of working in the States, if I did a one-off thing or something, they'd never take care of that. AEW does. So basically, AEW providing hotels and transportation for their wrestlers is actually a really big deal. Because one, there's a couple things that you got to keep in mind. WWE's been around for like 1 trillion years. WWE is also incredibly profitable. AEW, while they do have incredibly rich owners, and while the Khan family obviously have other entities that are really successful, at the end of the day, they do not have the level of experience of WWE has. They also don't have a company that's been around for 50 years. So because of that, the idea that Tony Khan and them are willing to invest in their talent so much with pretty much no guarantee that AEW will ever make the same amount of money as WWE, it just goes to show you how good the Khan family is when it comes to their talent. And I think lately there's been a lot of talk about AEW in like a negative manner, right? A lot of people recently have kind of been talking about AEW and just... Look, it's always going to be 50-50. On one side of the spectrum, you're going to have people praise. On the other side, you're going to have people hate them. And some people just troll them. But my point is this. Between the healthcare that we talked about the other day to now talking about hotels and travel, I just want you guys to think about that for a second. Like, WWE makes a lot of money. And if you're a wrestler in WWE, you're still paying for some of this. Like, that's just weird. It's weird. And it's weird that AEW, being such a new company, does this. And to be honest with you, it's like Tony Khan doesn't even talk about this himself. Like, this is not something that Tony Khan is like bragging about. Tony Khan likes to brag about numbers and ratings and attendance and stuff like that, but he never brags about how he takes care of his people. His wrestlers are doing it for him. And I think it's making AEW a very desirable spot if you're a wrestler. Now, don't get me wrong, wrestlers in WWE do get paid extremely well, but just keep that in mind, AEW is still a relatively new company. Frankie Kazarian has reportedly re-signed with AEW. This news came from PW Insider, and we still don't know all of the, specifics of this exact news, but we do know that AEW has re-signed Kazarian. And I thought this was very interesting because Frankie Kazarian is obviously one of the OGs in AEW. He was brought in as one of the original roster members, obviously as part of SCU. We don't really see him too often, and when we do see him, it's not always like things are looking that great for him. But I like Kazarian, and I liked Kazarian back when he was on WWE Velocity. I liked Kazarian back in TNA. I liked Frankie Kazarian in AEW, and I understand that maybe he is considered a veteran. Maybe he's not one of this new, young, and emerging talent, but I see Kazarian kind of being in the same situation as Christian, and he's obviously there to help the younger guys and help make other people look better. Just as a fan, I wish a company would just give him a world championship because I want to see what he can do with it. Whether it's successful or not, I've been very curious to see what it would be like if Frankie Kazarian was at the top of the card. My guess is that AEW probably didn't re-sign him for a long contract because the rumor is that AEW is kind of staying away from long-term contracts. That's the rumor. We don't have any clarification on that. We don't really know exactly what AEW is doing pay-wise and financially, like things, is it just per appearance or is it per, X amount of months, that type of thing. But nonetheless, Frankie Kazarian has re-signed with the company. I'm very intrigued to see where that goes, what happens, and I'm assuming that he'll probably move into a backstage role if he does not already have one. And for our final news of today, guys, this image is floating around Twitter because it was tweeted by Gregory Iron. Now, if you guys don't know who he is a pro wrestler from Ohio. And what's really interesting is, Gregory Iron could basically be doing two things. He could be working everybody, getting people excited because AEW Beach Break is happening tonight from Cleveland. But he posted this photo with Johnny Gargano, and now Johnny Gargano is trending on Twitter. Now, keep in mind, for weeks and weeks and weeks, we've been talking about the news, the rumors, the speculation that Johnny Gargano would, in fact, be debuting at Beach Break in Cleveland, Ohio, and he would be debuting as part of the Adam Cole Orange Cassidy feud. This would make sense. This would make a lot of sense based on the way programming has been and now the booking of the Beach Break special episode, because Adam Cole and Orange Cassidy are fighting in a lights out match, which totally makes sense for Johnny Gargano to come in and help Orange Cassidy and Adam Cole a singles loss, which I don't believe he's had any thus far. Now, of course, Johnny Gargano trending. People are talking about it. This photo being Cleveland. A lot of people want to know if Johnny Gargano is going to be in AEW. And I think two things are for sure. I think two things are going to be for sure, like certain for this episode. I think Wardlow turns on MJF. I think they're going to begin that story, especially being that it's in Cleveland. And then I think Johnny Gargano debuts. I think those two things are very certain. And I could very well be wrong. The reports and everything that have been, about wrestlers debuting and stuff, they've been wrong before. But my belief is this: if Johnny Gargano does not debut tonight, it's not happening. Now, what's interesting is Johnny Gargano is he's getting ready to become a father. So if Johnny Gargano debuts tonight, we might see him next week. We don't know. It just depends based on, realistically what happens with the birth of his child, because I'm sure he's going to take some time off. That was the original rumor with Johnny Gargano and Kyle O'Reilly. But sure enough, Kyle O'Reilly still came to AEW before the birth of his child. The same could be applied here with Johnny Gargano. I want to know what you guys think about this. Johnny Gargano getting involved in AEW versus Adam Cole. I'm going to tell you guys the same thing that I said about Undisputed Era coming to AEW. If it's going to be the same thing that we saw in WWE, I don't want it. If it's the same thing that we saw in WWE. If it is not the same thing that we saw in WWE, if AEW chooses to do something different and something better and something cool, then I am intrigued. And I won't knock it until I see it. But that's been my criticism. I just don't want to see the same thing that we've been seeing on TV for years and years and years. Johnny Gargano going to AEW, to me, I just don't know what else you could do differently with Johnny Gargano in AEW. But who knows? Maybe Tommaso Ciampa leaves NXT and then you're bringing back DIY. I don't know. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens. But I do want to know what you guys think in the comment section down below. As always, I'm bringing you guys the latest in wrestling. So drop a comment and let me know what you guys think.